Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. Now that my two obligatory informative videos are done for the day, it's time for me to discuss current events in the community. And today we're going to discuss the fact, instead of me talking about someone else, we'll talk about myself. That seems to be what people always tell me to do when I talk about someone they love. Why don't you talk about yourself instead? So I'm going to do just that. So let me put on my +5 hat of weaponsmithing, work on skilling up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about the fact that I've had a bunch of people in the last few days say that I don't have any traps. They're like, you don't have any traps. Why are you talking all about traps or lifting or any of that when you don't have any traps? Which was really puzzling to me because as far as I knew, my traps were pretty proportionate. And I said something to Brittany about it. And she goes, wait, these people don't have to deal with your traps. She's like, I'm the one who has to put my elbows and knees into them to massage them and dig into them all the time, running all the way down your back. She's like, they're a pair of big-ass pythons running down your back. She's like, I'm the one who has to massage those things. So she says, I don't know what they're talking about, but she said, wait a minute, I've got all these clips of you training on the phone that we do randomly. Most of them don't even go up online. So I grabbed a bunch of those off her phone, and I thought, I'll just throw them into a video. And I'll throw them all here in the end, and you guys can assess for yourself. Me doing different lifts, chain sitting up on top of my traps to do dips. You guys can see me deadlifting, rowing from different angles. You can see my traps top to bottom through a t-shirt. And people can tell that, yeah, I actually have traps. Are they enormous by bodybuilding standards? No, but I'm also only 240 pounds. I'm tiny by bodybuilding standards. By bodybuilding standards, I am tiny, but I don't use 3 grams of gear and growth hormone and all that either. I'm 5'9", 240 pounds. I am tiny as hell from a bodybuilding perspective. So, by that perspective, but it's weird. You get people who have these ideas about what proportions are supposed to look like on things, and my traps are pretty proportionate to the rest of my torso, and they're there just from heavy lifting. I don't train my traps specifically, really don't train much of anything specifically. I come in and lift heavy these days. The only muscles I ever do direct work for would be biceps, and that's because my biceps struggle. They lag. So that's the only thing I bother to come in and do any specialized work for, and have for a long time. But that being said, it's really, really weird how people get these ideas of what different size is or big is. And I think it's because they're so used to seeing these really shredded, really tiny, sucked up guys on YouTube that they honestly think these guys are big. And they don't realize when you meet them in person, they're really not as big as you guys think they are. They really aren't. And it creates these weird standards. And I'm sorry, there's no one who's big at 160 or 170 pounds. They might be shredded. They might look like they're big, but they're not actually big. And I don't know, it just creates this weird idea from people about exactly what they think someone's supposed to look like who lifts, and they need to realize most people who lift or train hard, they don't look and have the exact proportions of these really small guys. And you need to remember there are certain muscles that at certain angles are going to look big because of people's proportions. For example, the guys you usually see who have the really tall looking traps with that sharp angle, especially when you're looking at that front view, they usually have really narrow shoulders, and that makes their traps look bigger. Guys with wider shoulders, their traps don't look as tall because they don't have as steep of an angle, even if they have more overall meat there. So it is something I noticed. A few of the guys, that people out there, they look at some of these smaller sub 200 pound guys online, and they think they'll have massive traps. But what you are seeing is when they get really lean, or particularly guys who have very narrow shoulders, it makes their traps look taller. It's just an illusion. It's about proportion. And a lot of what people consider to be big looking at stuff is just about proportion, guys. That's all it is. And again, when you guys see people in isolation, you see what they look like on a camera or whatever, people get these ideas in their head because certain guys who are very lean are very, very proportionate. They have very specific proportions, really small joints, full muscle insertions. They might look really big to you, and then you realize in person they're 170 pounds. And I'm sorry, but there's no such thing as 170 pounds and big. It just doesn't work that way. Big requires a certain amount of actual physical size to be there. But, the whole bodybuilding game and the physique game and all that really is about illusions and angles and everything else at the end of the day. You just got to take it for what it is and not worry about it. But I thought it was really funny because I've always had people throw insults at my physique and body all the time. I mean, I'm used to that. But the trap one, I was like, I didn't even get it. I was just like, what are these people talking? It's like it actually took me by surprise. I mean, I'm used to insults. I'm used to guys saying that I'm fat. I'm used to guys saying I have a hideous physique. I'm used to guys saying I have terrible arms. Oh, your horrible torn bicep looks bad, that you tore years ago. I'm used to that. That's normal for me, but I've never actually had anyone be like, you have small traps, you don't have any traps. I was like, what? It wasn't even an insult. It just like threw me off of kind of like, oh, okay, where did that come from? It was just kind of a surprise. And when a bunch of guys did it, I was kind of like, oh, okay. Um, I've never even thought about that before. I've never thought about the fact that I might have small traps. They look pretty proportionate to me. I don't know what you're talking about. So, you know what? I thought, what the hell? It's a good chance for me to throw some old training footage up through here, all from the last year, because a lot of people are like, we don't see you train lately. I'm probably going to start doing more training footage again this year at the gym over time and start working training footage back in for you guys now that there's a demand for it. But the fact of the matter is there wasn't a demand for it. There's a lot of hassles around it of videoing training footage, and quite frankly, my training doesn't vary. I do 7 exercises right now. That's it. I only do 7 exercises. And, you know, people do get bored of seeing the same stuff over and over. So, you know what? It's been a while. I'll probably start doing some of that again soon. There's been a little bit of stuff thrown up on Instagram lately, just here and there. But what the hell? I've got a bunch of clips of me training. You guys can see. You can see my traps from different angles, and you guys decide for yourself if I have small traps or not. You know what? I don't really care. I'll let you guys decide for yourselves. You know, size and proportion is totally in the eye of the beholder. It's a totally subjective thing, so I'll leave it up to you. So enjoy the training clips.